What if the fate of the Dutton Empire no longer rested on Spencer's shoulders, but on the choices of his son's young men who never truly knew the harsh Montana soil, yet carry the same fire burning in their blood? Season 3 of 1923 isn't just another chapter. It's the start of a new battle for power, survival, and legacy. For years, Spencer Dutton stood as the warrior, the protector, and the man who fought for the family when all hope seemed lost. But now, the story shifts, and the spotlight falls on those who will inherit his world. The question is, will Spencer's sons save the Duttons, or will they become the reason the family finally crumbles? Asterisk to understand why Spencer's sons matter so much in Season 3, we have to look back at Spencer himself, the man who carried the weight of his family even when he was thousands of miles away. From the very first time we saw him in 1923, Spencer stood apart. He wasn't tied down to the Yellowstone ranch like the others. Instead, he wandered through the wilds of Africa, haunted by war, chasing danger, and running from ghosts he couldn't escape. But no matter how far he went, the call of Montana and the blood of the Dutton family always pulled him back. Spencer's journey has been one of survival and sacrifice. He faced lions and poachers, but the greatest challenge he carried was inside the scars left by the Great War. He fought not just for himself, but for the family name, for a ranch that was being threatened from every side. When he finally returned home, it wasn't just about reuniting with his family. It was about saving them. His presence brought strength, his leadership gave them hope, and his battles reminded everyone that the Duttons never backed down, no matter the enemy. But Spencer was more than just a fighter. He was also a lover, a man who found passion and meaning in the arms of Alexandra. Their bond wasn't just a romantic storyline. It was proof that Spencer could build a future beyond pain and bloodshed. Together they represented both survival and hope, carrying the promise of children who would one day inherit everything the Duttons had fought to keep. And now, those children, the sons of Spencer, stand ready to step into the light. They were raised not only with the stories of their father's courage, but also with the weight of his choices. Season 3 asks the question, will they carry his legacy, or will they break under the pressure of the Dutton name? Spencer's sons are more than just heirs. They are the bridge between past and future. On one side lies the world Spencer built with blood, pain, and loyalty. On the other lies the uncertain path of what the Yellowstone Ranch will become. The ranch isn't just land, it's a symbol of power, control, and the sacrifices of generations before them. And for the first time, that legacy no longer depends on Spencer himself, but on the strength of his sons. This is what makes Season 3 different. It's no longer just a story of survival against outside enemies, it's the story of inheritance, of how a family's future can be reshaped by the choices of the next generation. Spencer's sons weren't part of the fight when the walls were closing in during the early years. They didn't ride into battle when enemies threatened to burn the Yellowstone to the ground. But now, with Spencer stepping back and time passing, they are thrust into the storm. They must learn what it means to be a Dutton in a world that shows no mercy. And here's the real twist: Spencer's sons aren't the same. One may follow the traditions of his father, valuing honor, family, and loyalty. The other may crave something different: power, control, or freedom from the shadows of the past. This split creates a tension that could either make the Duttons stronger or rip them apart from within. The truth is, the sons of Spencer carry more than just his bloodline. They carry his burdens, his victories, and his failures. And as Season 3 begins, it's clear that everything Spencer fought for, everything the Duttons bled for, will soon rest in their hands. The question is not just whether they will rise to the challenge, but whether they will survive the price that comes with being a Dutton. Asterisk, the true weight of 1923 Season 3 begins with the arrival of Spencer's sons. They are no longer names whispered as possibilities for the future. They are flesh and blood, ready to step into the harsh light of Montana. Raised far from the Yellowstone Ranch, their identities were shaped by stories rather than soil. They grew up hearing about a man who fought lions in Africa, a soldier who stared death in the face during the Great War, and a leader who returned home to defend his family's name. To them, Spencer was both father and legend. But legends are heavy burdens to live under. And Season 3 brings us face to face with the struggles of sons trying to rise from the shadow of a giant. What makes this new generation so fascinating is the contrast between the brothers. They share blood but not vision. The older son seems cut from Spencer's cloth, a young man who carries his father's strength, his sense of duty, and his respect for tradition. He longs to be part of the Yellowstone, to honor the sacrifices of those who came before. To him, the ranch is not just land. It is a sacred inheritance, a promise that must be kept alive no matter the cost. He believes in order, family loyalty, and the same code of honor that Spencer himself once carried. But then there is the younger son of Firebrand, restless and unwilling to be bound by the rules of a past he never asked for. Where his brother sees duty, he sees chains. Where his father fought for family, he questions why the family must always be at war with the world. He craves freedom, independence, and a chance to build something new, even if it means walking away from the Yellowstone name. This rebellion sets the stage for a battle not just against enemies outside the ranch, but within the family itself. And here is where Season 3 becomes electric. For the first time, the fate of the Duttons isn't decided by patriarchs like Jacob or Spencer, but by the choices of two young men who barely know the land they're meant to rule. Their arrival in Montana is not a quiet homecoming, it's a storm. The ranch has already been scarred by violence, betrayal, and endless wars for power. Now, Spencer's sons walk into a land that demands strength, and they must prove themselves worthy of it. The cattle, the land, the enemies circling the ranch, they don't care about bloodlines. They care about survival. The older son tries to step into his father's boots, but the fit isn't perfect. He knows the history, he respects it, but he lacks Spencer's battle-hardened instincts. He's learning, but Montana doesn't give second chances. Every mistake is costly, and every hesitation is dangerous. Still, he carries a calmness, a patience, and an ability to bring people together, qualities that may prove as valuable as Spencer's brute force once was. Meanwhile, the younger son sees the chaos of Montana and refuses to bow to it. He isn't afraid of breaking tradition, of challenging the old rules that define the Dutton way. He questions whether the Yellowstone is worth all the blood that has been spilled for it. His vision is bold, modern, and dangerous because it threatens the very foundation the family has built. Yet at the same time, his hunger for change may also be what keeps the Duttons alive in an ever-changing world. Together, these brothers embody the central question of 1923 Season 3. Is the future of the Duttons found in tradition or in rebellion? One clings to the roots of the past, while the other reaches for the possibilities of the future. Their dynamic isn't just sibling rivalry, it's the embodiment of a family struggle to survive in a world that refuses to stay the same. And looming over all of this is the shadow of Spencer himself. Though the focus shifts to his sons, his presence is everywhere in the way they speak, the way they fight, the way they carry themselves. He is the ghost they can't escape, the measuring stick against which they will always be judged. Every decision they make will be compared to what Spencer would have done. And that weight, heavier than any enemy's bullet, could be the very thing that shapes or destroys them. Season 3 doesn't just bring us new faces. It brings us a new heartbeat for the Dutton family. The sons of Spencer are not side characters, they are the ones who will carry the family name forward. But whether they carry it proudly or drag it into ruin is a question no one can answer yet. One thing is certain, their choices will not just affect the Yellowstone Ranch. They will ripple through generations, changing the Dutton story forever. The Dutton family has always been built on conflict. From Jacob's unyielding leadership to Spencer's battles abroad, every generation has faced enemies who wanted to take their land and crush their name. But in 1923 Season 3, the greatest threat may not come from cattle barons, greedy businessmen, or politicians. It may come from within the Dutton bloodline itself. Spencer's sons step into a world where loyalty is never certain and betrayal can come from those sitting at your own table. As the brothers return to Montana, the family quickly realizes that their presence changes everything. For the older son, his loyalty to the ranch makes him an ally to the family elders. He wants to stand shoulder to shoulder with Jacob's legacy and honor the sacrifices that kept the Yellowstone alive through blood and war. But his younger brother? His rebellious spirit creates cracks in the foundation. He questions why the Duttons are always at war, why the ranch must always be defended with blood, and why family loyalty must mean blind obedience. These questions don't just make him an outsider, they make him dangerous. In a family where power is everything, doubt is poison. The younger son's refusal to follow tradition becomes the spark that lights a much bigger fire. Soon, whispers of division spread. Some members of the family may see his vision of change as the key to survival in a new world, while others see it as betrayal. The Yellowstone has always been a symbol of strength, but when the family can't agree on what they're fighting for, that strength begins to weaken. And the enemies of the Duttons know this. Throughout history, outsiders have tried to take the ranch by force. But now, they don't need to fire a single shot. They can simply wait for the family to tear itself apart. Rival ranchers, politicians, and land developers watch closely, ready to strike when the Duttons are at their weakest. The sons don't realize it yet, but their conflict has put a target on the family bigger than ever before. The older son tries to hold the line, defending the family name, but his brother's growing defiance puts them on a collision course. Their arguments aren't just about land or cattle, they're about the soul of the family itself. One believes survival means honoring the past. The other believes survival means breaking free from it. In a world as brutal as Montana, both can't be right, and both can't lead. But here's the truth that makes Season 3 so gripping. Conflict in the Dutton family doesn't just mean heated words. It means betrayal, power plays, and choices that cut deeper than any knife. We may see alliances shift, cousins and uncles choosing sides between the brothers. We may see friendships break apart. And in the Yellowstone world, betrayal often ends in blood. What if one brother seeks help from outsiders, believing he's saving the family, only to sell them out without realizing it? What if the fight between them grows so intense that it weakens their grip on the ranch, inviting enemies to claim what the Duttons have defended for generations? And what if, in the end, their war against each other costs them more than any battle with outsiders ever could? Season 3 raises a chilling possibility that Spencer's sons might not just inherit the ranch, they might destroy it. History has shown us that the Yellowstone survives only through unity, no matter how fragile that unity may be. But when brothers turn against each other, the ground beneath the family begins to crumble. Every betrayal, every secret, and every act of defiance chips away at the very legacy Spencer once bled to protect. And yet, in true Dutton fashion, conflict is also what makes them stronger. Sometimes the greatest battles forge the sharpest steel. Perhaps these struggles between Spencer's sons are necessary, painful lessons that will decide who truly deserves to carry the Dutton name forward, but the price will be high. Someone will lose, someone will bleed, and the family will never be the same again. In the end, 1923 Season 3 promises not just external wars, but a civil war within the Dutton bloodline. Betrayal may not come from strangers, it may come from a brother's hand, a cousin's choice, or a whispered deal in the shadows. And for the first time, the Yellowstone might fall, not because of the enemies outside its fences, but because of the war being fought within its own walls. The Dutton story has always been about survival. From 1883 to 1923 and beyond, every generation has carried the weight of the Yellowstone Ranch on their shoulders, fighting battles that seemed impossible to win. But Season 3 of 1923 takes that legacy into new, uncertain territory. For the first time, the future no longer rests with Jacob, Kara, or even Spencer. It now lies in the hands of his sons. And that changes everything. The Yellowstone is more than land. It is a living symbol of sacrifice, blood, and stubborn resilience. Generations have fought for it, bled for it, and even died for it. But as Spencer's sons step into the spotlight, the question becomes, Will they honor that legacy, or will they rewrite it entirely? Because the world around them is shifting. The 1920s bring new challenges: modernization, political shifts, growing industries, and the looming shadow of the Great Depression. The enemies the Duttons will face in this new era are not just gunmen and cattle thieves. They are men in suits, businessmen with contracts, politicians with influence, and forces of change that no bullet can stop. The older son may see the Yellowstone as something sacred, worth preserving at all costs. But how do you preserve a ranch when the world around it is changing faster than ever? Holding on to tradition may keep the spirit alive, but it could also leave the Duttons vulnerable to new kinds of threats. On the other hand, the younger son, with his hunger for rebellion and change, may be the only one capable of adapting to this new world. But his vision of the future may mean tearing down the very traditions that define what it means to be a Dutton. This is the heart of 1923 Season 3. The clash between past and future, tradition and change, unity and division. And at the center of it all stand two brothers, tasked with carrying a legacy they never asked for. Their choices will not only shape the Dutton family of their time, but echo into the future we already know from Yellowstone. Because every decision they make is a step toward the world John Dutton inherits generations later. The Yellowstone we see in Yellowstone is a kingdom built on blood and sacrifice. Season 3 may show us the very foundation of that kingdom, or the cracks that almost caused it to collapse. Every alliance, every betrayal, every sacrifice made by Spencer's sons will ripple forward, shaping the dynasty we know and setting the stage for the battles yet to come. But legacy is never clean. The truth is, the Dutton family may not survive without loss. To secure the Yellowstone, one son may have to rise above the other. Brotherhood may give way to rivalry, and loyalty may demand betrayal. The future of the ranch could depend on who is willing to pay the greater price, and who is willing to carry the burden of being a Dutton, no matter how heavy it becomes. And that's what makes 1923 Season 3 so powerful. It's not just a continuation of Spencer's story, it's the beginning of a new saga. A saga where sons must decide if they are willing to follow their father's path or carve their own. Where the Yellowstone's survival will depend not only on strength but on vision. And where the future of the family name may be rewritten forever. So, what does the future hold? Will Spencer's sons carry the Duttons into a new golden age, uniting tradition with change? Or will their conflict tear the family apart, leaving enemies to claim the ranch that generations fought so hard to defend? Season 3 doesn't give us easy answers, it gives us a battlefield. And on that battlefield, the legacy of the Yellowstone will either or finally fall. One thing is certain, the rise of Spencer's sons will mark a turning point in the Dutton story. And once this chapter begins, nothing in the Yellowstone universe will ever be the same again.